I have miles and miles ahead of me, tales to listen to, time to spend. Up ahead, the road is bending. Wonder what's around the bend.
Hello, I'm Charles Kuralt. We're off again to meet a few people on the back roads of America. These are people you know, not from the front pages. They've never been on the front pages. They're people you know from next door and down the block. Their stories are some of my favorites from 25 years on the road. Consider this a short course in determination. We will follow along after Lewis and Clark, those fiercely determined explorers who set out once upon a time to paddle clear across the country. They would have done it, too, but for Idaho's river of no return. We'll tarry a while in New England to watch some folks determined to turn their wood piles into works of art. What Joseph Charles decided he would do after he retired was this. He would stand on his little corner of the world every weekday for a couple of hours, come rain or come shine, to wave to people.
Well, why do you do it? Because I love it. I love to see people smile.
But if determination is our interest, we'd better go first to Hartford, Connecticut, to meet the man who will always define that quality for me. No one ever dug his heels in harder than Dominic LaTorre.
They say we're a plastic society, but I don't know. Out here on the road, I keep running into nonconformists, characters. I knew someday I'd run into the one who could win the prize for stubbornness and survival against the odds. I think I just found him. He's in that ugly little building over there on the corner of Columbus and Grove. Nicky the Chicken Man.
You realize I've been here over 40 years? That's right. That's right. Matter of fact, this has been my life. I was born at the corner of State and Front, and I've worked here the lifetime. Simple as that.
Dominic LaTorre has spent his whole life in the business of live chickens and survival. His little Connecticut live chicken store survived the Depression, several floods, the war, and redevelopment. When the city tore down the old Italian neighborhood, Nicky LaTorre refused to go. When the city widened one of the streets that form his corner and took 2/3 of his store, he patched up the part that was left and refused to move. When the Travelers Insurance Company bought up the block for a 15-story, $20 million office building, he refused to sell. When Travelers built around him, the city of Hartford announced plans to widen the other street and tear down what was left of his building. He took them all to court. After many months, the Supreme Court of the state of Connecticut ruled that Nicky LaTorre had to go. The city of Hartford has the right to widen Grove Street anytime it chooses. I guess they think it would be beautifying the city to get rid of this little building.
You call that beautification? Across the street? Those parking lots? Is that beautification? Over there was apartment houses with beautiful people living in them, and all kind of stores right along where you could buy anything you want. You could buy a fig for a nickel.
They call it progress, Nick.
Progress is fine where it's essential and where it's needed. I know many of people that were living down here, and when they got the notification to move, they were up in arms. They were happy here because this was a little world of their own. They knew everybody, and there were all kind of people living here. Italians, Polacks, Chinamans, colored, made no difference. We were one happy family.
Why do they want to eliminate this business?
I really believe, I think it's a thorn in the side of my friend, the Travelers Insurance Company. Now here, the council, our illustrious council, decides that that street needs widening.
The city council.
The city council. There's traffic on that street from 7 to about 8 in the morning and from 4 to about 4:30 in the evening. The rest of the day, you could sit there and have a picnic and nobody will bother you. Now, the thing is, Travelers doesn't want me here because I'm a thorn in their side. Yet I've been here almost as long as they have. But the fact is that the city council went along with, naturally, what Mr. Traveler said. So they voted me down, right down in the sewer.
The Travelers Insurance Company employs nearly 10,000 people in Hartford. Nicky Latore employs nobody but himself. Fred C. Maynard, Executive Vice President of Travelers.
Well, we tried to buy his property on a bona fide offer at a reasonable price, and he exercised his right not to accept it. I regret that he feels that we've been out to get him. I don't feel that way at all, and nor have I ever sensed any such attitude on the part of anybody who works for this company. I don't think we've been picking on Mr. Latore at all.
The $2,300 a year I pay to the city of Hartford hurts me more than that $1 million the Travelers donates. Am I wrong or am I wrong?
As our business grew, the numbers of employees grew. And we added one building, and then another and another, till we reached the mid-60s. It was apparent we were going to need a new building to house more employees to handle more business. We built our building, and our people are down there working now. So is Mr. Latore.
Show me the street.
Definitely be a pleasure.
That's Grove Street.
This is Grove Street. When they built that building, they put that sidewalk in there prior to any other mischievous thing at all. He said, this guy isn't going to stay here. How's he going to buck us?
But they are city planners, and he is just Nicky the Chicken Man.
So now
Sooner or later, they will widen Grove Street, and Nicky Latore's stubborn holdout will be over. There will be nothing on this corner to show that there ever was such a thing as the Connecticut Live Poultry Store.
So now you're just living on borrowed time.
So now I'm dying by the inches. I wish I knew where I stood. That's right. On borrowed time, as you say, because I don't know where I look at this place. I used to have a beauty parlor here at one time, but now I'm letting it go for the simple reason that I don't know if I'm going to be here today or tomorrow or the next day. And it's an aggravating situation.
Do you think a bulldozer is going to come down Grove Street one of these days? And
Well, to tell you the truth, many a mornings I come down that street with my little pickup, and I don't expect to find the place. I don't expect to find the place. Because, you know, it's nothing, but to me, it's a livelihood. And who's going to hire a guy like me at this stage of the game? I have to become a bookie or a racehorse veteran.
In nearly half a century surviving on this corner, Nicky Latore, as you can tell, has developed his own philosophy about city planning. He thinks a city should be more than new buildings and widened streets.
I notice you wave to everybody who comes by. A lot of people know you.
Oh, man, as far as I go, I'm a fixer on this corner. That's right. In the morning, I'll say good morning to anybody. I have people that come around this corner, and if they don't see me, they'll rap on a window to catch my attention so they could wave at me. I've been here a long time, friend. I've been here an awful long time.
What Lewis and Clark were seeking so hopefully was a water route from the Atlantic to the Pacific. They followed the mighty Missouri River across the plains, followed the tributaries of the Missouri up into the Rocky Mountains, came up this very pass toward the Continental Divide, still following the water, and came at last to this.
Meriwether Lewis knelt down here, cupped his hands, and drank from this stream, this rivulet, on Monday, August 12th, 1805. It was not exactly the navigable river he had hoped to find. After a few minutes, he continued uphill toward a ridge above him, along a trail the Shoshone Indians used when they came down out of the mountains to hunt buffalo. The trail is still here, only slightly widened, and we used it, as Lewis did, to climb to the Continental Divide and enter Idaho. I now descended the mountain, Lewis wrote in his journal, which I found much steeper than on the opposite side. He still believed this might be just a short portage, that at the bottom of the hill he would find a great river into which he could put the expedition's canoes and paddle rapidly to the Pacific Ocean. And at the bottom of the hill, he found his river. Today it's called the Salmon, and it does flow into the Snake, which flows into the Columbia, which flows into the Pacific. A passage by water across the continent. Full of excitement, Lewis sent Clark ahead to reconnoiter. Proceeded on an Indian road beside the river, Clark wrote, past remarkable rocks resembling pyramids. The mountains very steep, high, and rocky. The ascent so steep that it is incredible to describe. The mountains betrayed him. And then the river betrayed him too. We took a jet boat on the Salmon to see what Clark saw that day. The river is almost one continued rapid, he wrote. The mountains close. There is a perpendicular cliff on each side. The water runs with great violence from one rock to another, foaming and roaring through rocks in every direction. The passage with canoes is entirely impossible. The Salmon River leads from Idaho to the Pacific, all right, but it has earned its name, the River of No Return. After that, Lewis and Clark knew they didn't need canoes to reach the Pacific. They needed horses. Maybe you remember the rest, how Sacagawea, a Shoshone girl of 16 who had come with Lewis and Clark from Dakota carrying her infant son, recognized the Shoshone chief as her long-separated brother. Her statue stands on the Capitol grounds in North Dakota, but she is really Idaho's heroine. She helped Lewis and Clark obtain what they had to have, horses from her tribe. The horses were purchased. Lewis and Clark were able to go on 200 miles by land to the first navigable waters of the Pacific slope, complete their mission, and fill in that great blank that existed on the maps and in the human mind about America west of the Mississippi.
But Lewis and Clark didn't look upon their passage through Idaho as a triumph. In fact, it was one of the greatest disappointments of human history, because Captain William Clark, standing here, knew to a certainty what no one else on Earth knew until then, that you cannot reach the Pacific coast and Asia by sailing west, that there is no Northwest Passage. The Salmon River dashed to pieces the expectations of 300 years. The dream of Columbus ended here.
We've been driving through New England listening to October. You could close your eyes on these country roads and know what month it is by the sound. This sound. And this one. And this one. Wood being cut and split and wood piles built. In New England, wood is not often just piled up. Wood piles are built, the way Rex Jennings of Dorchester, New Hampshire builds his, with care, making sure of the fit. And why so deliberately?
I guess, like anybody else, it's nice to have all your heat where you can see it.
This is 5 cords of oak and birch and maple. There's a lot of sweat in 5 cords of oak and birch and maple. And a good deal of pride, because in New England, a wood pile isn't just a chore to be finished before the snow flies. It's a work of art to be proud of when it's done.
And so the sweat and the pride mingle in the sound of the New England autumn.
She's one of those tough jobs.
It's not easy, But the reward is beautiful to look at. Oak piled shaker style in the yard of Rudolph and Patricia Young in Petersham, Massachusetts. Perfectly round below, perfectly mounded above. Or maple stacked vertically the old-fashioned way outside Townsend, Vermont. Or locust logs exactly graduated as to size near Miller's Falls, Massachusetts. For a final few days now, the work goes on, the work that Don Edwards of Grafton, Vermont is doing.
That does look like hard work.
Well, I suppose it is, but it's good for the body. And they tell me it's good for the soul. Wasn't it Robert Frost or somebody said that?
But all that still has to be split.
Yeah, it'll take a couple hours, but in December I'll appreciate it.
Don Edwards knows October is nearly over and December is coming. And so now the sound of the axe and the chainsaw fade away and the countryside falls silent. Arched under windows and piled round doors, stacked between trees and under eaves, the perfect wood piles are finished, and New England is ready for the winter.
When Joseph Charles retired, at first he couldn't figure out what to do with himself. He sat around the house, puttered in the garden, until finally he figured out a new career. Have a good day!
Joseph Charles became a waver. Every weekday morning for 5 years now, he has stood on the sidewalk in front of his house at the corner of Oregon and Grove and waved.
Have a good day. Good morning. Have a good day. Have a good day.
Let the rest of the world be gloomy and preoccupied. The corner of Oregon and Grove is all friendliness.
Hello, sweetheart. Hello there. Good morning. Have a good day. Have a good day.
Joseph Charles was always a friendly man. It was only after he stepped down from his job of 30 years as a packer at the Oakland Naval Supply Center that he noticed most of the people who were still going to work in the morning looked, well, glum.
So after I retired about 2 years, I decided to stand out here about an hour and wave at people. I said, I know they're going to say I was crazy, but I tried it. So it paid off pretty good, so I said I'm going to add another 45 minutes. Okay, you have a good day. So I stay out here from Mondays through Fridays and wave an hour and 45 minutes. Hello, sweetheart. Have a good day now. So I stay out the hour and 45 minutes waving, and I love it.
There must be some people who just think you're some kind of nut.
My wife even much thought it. My wife looked out the window one morning, saw me waving, and she told me, said, Joseph, come on in this house. You must be crazy. One came by and said, man, he said, let me tell you something. You must be a communist. I said, no, I'm no communist. I said, why I got to be a communist to do this? I said, what's your religion? I said, well, that's all about my religion. Don't have a thing to do with this. I said, well, what party you belong to? I said, well, that's my business. And
are there some who just won't wave?
That's right. It's got some who won't wave. Have a good day. They got two passes here practically every morning for the last 4 years. They wouldn't wave at me for nothing. They wouldn't wave for nothing.
Well, why do you do it?
Because I love it. I love to see people smile, and this helped them to smile. I thought it wouldn't. It paid off if they did say I was crazy at one time. Have a good day. Hello there. How you doing this morning, partner? You doing all right? You have a good day here?
When Joseph Charles says that waving has paid off, he certainly doesn't mean in money. But he takes his job as seriously as you and I take ours. He pulls on his fluorescent orange gloves punctually at 7:45 a.m. and does not stop waving until 9:30, rain or shine. And this is his payment. This. And this.
Have a good day.
And this. And this.
Have a good day. Hello there. You makes my day.
Of course, the truth is, he makes their day.
Good way. Have a good day. Well, time to say goodbye until our next trip together. We've heard about a story up the road here, but we kind of hope we never get there. With luck, we'll stumble upon something more interesting along the way. I can see the road is bending. Wonder what's around the bend.
All these years I've been a-wondering, just when I think I'm near the end, I always see the road is bending, and I wonder what's around